Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams, joined by Paul McAllister, and this is the Extra Time Show, talking about the win over Huddersfield in the Carabao Cup. Paul, your thoughts on the game?
It was a lot more nerve-wracking than we wanted it to be, but it's just the Everton way, isn't it? Things can't ever be simple. Even when we win, we find a way to put everyone's nerves through the ringer. We're in the next round, which is the important thing, but I think only one or two players really impressed. They took their moments and gave the manager food for thought. I think for a lot of players, they kind of just treaded water. I don't think anyone played particularly badly. I just think a lot of players, as a collective, the performance just wasn't up to scratch, and we just made it far harder for ourselves and far more stressful than it needed to be. There was one or two players who we'll come to who had some mad moments that basically made the situation a lot harder than it needed to be. But overall, it was, you can't really criticise when we win, can you? But it wasn't a type of results where you looked at it and thought, yeah, that player's definitely made sure he's going to be starting at the weekend against Brighton. I think there was maybe only one, and that was Alex Iwobi for me.
No problem. Yeah, I thought it was a lot tighter and a lot more nerve-wracking than I think any of us hoped it'd be. Well, talk us through your thoughts on the goals. Obviously, Iwobi got the first, and then Townsend got one in the very dying minutes of the game. And also give us your thoughts on the goal we conceded.
The first goal with Iwobi, I mean, it was really well taken from him. I mean, I thought he showed a lot of composure, which is not something you normally associate with Iwobi. He tends to, at the crunch moments, whether it's when he's going to put a ball into the box, or whether he's going to pick out the right teammates, or whether he's going to take a shot, he always seems to make the wrong choice or fluff his lines. But it was very, very composed, wasn't it? It was good build-up play, and it was just the sort of start that we'd have wanted, wasn't it? It's what a lot of Premier League teams do when they play lower league opposition in a cup. It's what you want, isn't it? It's just a smooth goal in the first half to kind of settle everyone down and make everyone think, right, there's not going to be any upset on the cards here. We've got this team at arm's length. We've put a goal past them. They're going to have to come out and chase us now. And it won't be long, hopefully, before we can bag a second and carve them open again. So first goal was good. It's great to see Iwobi get on the score sheet, because it's not often he does that. If he's going to be staying at Everton, which it looks like he's going to be, at least when this transfer window ends, he's got to be adding goals to his game. It's the biggest criticism against Iwobi for me since we signed him. His goal return and his assist return is just absolutely woeful. So he's got to add goals, and it's good to get him off the mark for the season. The first goal, or the equalising goal rather, because it was their only goal for Huddersfield, it was too easy, wasn't it? Corner floated in. I think it was a corner, or was that the disallowed one at the ads? But it was just a ball into the box, and Michael Keane, who's in bad form, gets beaten in the air too easily, and it's just on a sixpence on the lad's head, and all he's got to do is make a connection, and that's what he does. And it's 1-1, and we conceded it at the worst possible time, right before half time as well. If we'd conceded that 5-10 minutes beforehand, then maybe it would have been the wake-up call we kind of needed to get a grip of the game again. But for them to equalise right on half time like that would have given them a huge lift, and it would have just left everyone deflated and worried. So it was scruffy to concede it. I wanted a clean sheet out of that game, and we haven't got it. We haven't got a clean sheet in any game so far this season yet. And the winning goal, it was just, what a relief that was. I mean, good to get Townsend up and running as well. His first goal for the club. But I wasn't bothered who scored it. I just wanted someone to put the ball in the net so we didn't have to go to penalties, because I'm absolutely convinced, and I was last night as well, that even if we'd have hung on and not lost, if we'd have gone to penalties, then we'd have lost that. I thought the momentum was all with Huddersfield, and we didn't have many bona fide penalty takers on the pitch at that point. I mean, there was no one who we had on the field, the 10 men we had, who I'd look at and think, yeah, I'm confident you could take a penalty for us. At that point, maybe Dean, who came on off the bench, but if we'd have gone to a shootout, I'm very sure we'd have lost that. So I'm just really happy that someone popped up and got us a late goal.
No problem. Obviously, you mentioned the chalked off goal for them. That was a corner as well. Is it a little bit worrying to see us conceding from set pieces? I know the second one was chalked off, but the first one came from a set piece as well and a corner. A couple of people last night were saying, you know, it's Silva, Martinez-esque, Everton being bad at defending set pieces again.
It's concerning for me, yeah, because we've got to keep the ball out of the net. We've got to start getting clean sheets, especially against teams who've got no business scoring against us. Huddersfield had no business scoring against a defence we put out last night. I know it wasn't our strongest defence, but still had players who have started games for us recently, in the likes of Michael Keane and Mason Holgate. They shouldn't be getting beaten in the air like that off a simple corner. I mean, we're going to concede set-piece goals over the course of the season, but how many is that we've conceded now in the 3 games we've played? Is it 3 and 3?
I think so,
yeah. It's not good enough. I mean, I don't like zonal marking personally, I never have. But Benitez is very much a zonal mark manager. I remember when he was the Liverpool gaffer, my dad, who was a Red, was massively annoyed by that. He used to always complain about Benitez insisting on zonal marking. And it just seems like he's still doing it all these years later. I don't like it myself. And I'm not saying it can't ever work. I think certain managers can make it work, but you've got to have the right type of defenders. You've got to have defenders with initiative when the ball's coming into the box. People who think, I'm going to go and attack that. And Michael Keane and Holgate are not those type of centre-halves. Mina probably is. I think Godfrey, you'd like to think, will be. But if we're going to be doing zonal marking, then I just don't want to. I think we're going to be conceding goals when we've got Michael Keane and Holgate back there, because they just don't have the initiative to go and take a ball out the air and claim it.
No problem. Obviously, you mentioned Michael Keane. A lot of people now saying that's 3 for 3 potentially on mistakes leading to goals for him. Do you think it's a matter of maybe dropping him for the weekend? I know we'll get onto the weekend in the preview, but
if Godfrey's available, which I hope he will be, because apparently he's out of isolation now, and he was at the game last night. He came a bit too early for him to be in the squad. But if Godfrey's available and Mina's fit, then yeah, Michael Keane should not be starting for us. I mean, I wanted Michael Keane to play last night because I was hoping that if he'd have got a clean sheet and he'd have just had a very quiet evening without any fuss, it would have been just a tonic for him to get his confidence back, because he's a very confidence-orientated player. And when his confidence goes, it just seems to... He gets stuck in ruts, doesn't he? That it takes him a long time to get out of. It's the story of his Everton career. He's either banging form or 1 or 2 things happen, what you think are small things, like the odd mistake, and it just seems like his confidence evaporates. I mean, I remember we've had defenders in the past who had, mad moments in them, who always had a mistake, like Distan and even Funes Mori. And Michael Keane's, without doubt, a better defender than Funes Mori ever was. But I remember when Distan was playing, and Funes Mori and other centre-halves we have down the years, like Alan Stubbs, if they ever made a mistake, they wouldn't dwell on it, type thing. It wouldn't be the sort of thing where if they make a mistake in a game and concede as a goal, then the form would just tail off badly for weeks and weeks afterwards. Whereas that seems to be the case with Keane. It seems 1 mistake and all of a sudden he's all over the place mentally, and it takes weeks, if not months, for him to get his head right again. So I was hoping we'd play him last night and he could come through the game comfortably and he would be able to sort his head out. But as you said, yet again, he was probably at fault for their goal, or he was the most at fault of anyone. So no, I think he's lost his place in the starting 11, and it's on him to get it back. As soon as Godfrey and Mina are fit, hopefully starting this weekend, they've got to be off first choice centre-back pairing, and Michael Keane just going to have to wait for his moments, and whatever it comes in a few weeks or a few months, if he wants to try and get back in the manager's strongest team, because he doesn't belong in it based on the first few weeks of the season.
No worries. We've obviously spoke about Michael Keane. Now we'll move over to Moise Keane. We'll start with his offside goal. Onside, offside for you?
It was onside, wasn't it? Or at the very least, it was level, and it was an absolutely cracking finish. The stream I was watching it on was a little bit dodgy, and it kept stop-starting. And I saw the pass go through to Moise Keane, and then it froze for a couple of seconds, and I thought, "Oh God, isn't that typical?" I could see from the pass and the way Moise Keane was standing on the pitch that when he got the ball, he was going to get a clean run at goal, and then it unfroze just as he was striking it, and it went right into the top corner over the goalie's head, unsavable. 2 goalkeepers weren't keeping that out, and I thought, yes, that's brilliant. And then obviously the flag goes up and it gets taken off him wrongly, and he had the right sorry, he had the right to be frustrated about it, but when that happens, it's the same with what I was talking about before. When things don't go your way, you've got to kind of just dust yourself off and get on with it. Whereas it happened to Keane, I thought he kind of went into a bit of a funk after that happened. Like he was playing with a bit of a sulky face, and it was similar to what we saw when he played in the cups last season against Salford and against who was it that we played and we won like 5-2 or something. I can't remember it. It was a League One team we played early on in the League Cup last year. We played Salford and then we played someone else, and Keane scored in both of them. One was a penalty and one was a ball from Iwobi that he just swept in. But he didn't smile, he didn't celebrate. He kind of looked like a player who wanted to be anywhere else. And I thought that's what he looked like after that goal until he got sent off, essentially. So when he got sent off, I mean, I think it's harsh. I've seen the photographs of it today where apparently, it's not even apparently, I've seen it. He put his hands on the Huddersfield guy's throat, and I sympathise with him because he was kicked and blatantly fouled when he was trying to lead the breakaway. So he's got the right to basically lose his head a little bit, but putting his hands on the guy's throat, you've got to know that if you do that, then the referee's going to have no choice but to send you off. And I don't know about you, but I thought it was very interesting that the minute the red card came out, Moise Keane looked like he couldn't get down the tunnel fast enough. He just walked off without a backwards glance, didn't even put his hands on his head like that, didn't protest, going, "Oh my God, are you serious?" He didn't even look around like in amusement. It was like he was just thinking, "Oh, you sent me off. All right, I'm going then." As if I don't want to say it looked as if he was glad to be, but it looked like he wasn't at all bothered. And he just stomped off down the tunnel without a backwards glance. His teammates were more annoyed than he was. I saw Gabaman going crazy at the referee, thinking, "Are you serious? How can you send him off for that?" Moise Keane was basically back in the changing room and in the shower probably before the play started up again. So I think it's the writing's on the wall with that kid. I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think most fans are interested in letting him stay here now and develop. I think even the supporters like myself who were up for giving him another chance this season and hoping he would have his head turned back around and that he would get his head down and just let the PSG thing go. Even I'm at the point now when I'm thinking, look, mate, you're coming across like Balotelli Mark II here. You've undoubtedly got a bit of talent, but if you've got no work ethic and you've got no desire, then it doesn't matter how talented you are. You're not going to be able to do anything for Everton Football Club. So I'm hoping that we can part ways with him and get a good fee before the window shuts. I think it's just best for all parties now.
Yeah, I must admit, when I watched it, I noticed. I mean, I think it's not. I watched it, thought it was a bit harsh, and then when I saw the pictures today, was like, well, it's not. His hands around his throat. But I thought it was quite naive of him to do it right in front of the referee as well. But I must admit, now you've mentioned it, I did notice that when he was brandished, he was straight down the tunnel. And like you said, the other players were Gomez, who had just been brought on at that point, was on the pitch protesting more than he was when he was given the red.
If that happens in a game of PSG, then he stays on the pitch and he argues for the best part of 5 minutes about that because he cares. Whereas it's told you everything, his reaction. He got sent off and it left the team in a really horrible spot having to play 10 men for the last half an hour when we were already under the cosh anyway because the momentum was all with them. Did they have was the disallowed goal not long after the red card, or was it not long before? I think I can remember there was about maybe 5-10 minutes difference between them. But basically, at the time that happened in the game, it was a massive boost for Huddersfield and a massive blow for Everton. And everyone was thinking, "Oh my God, what kind of a state that left us in?" And it looked like he walked off. It looked like he'd been told to basically, you'd think the referee would have said to him, "Okay, you've done enough for one night. You can just go home and have a shower and put your feet up now." And he was like, "Yeah, thank you very much." Not, "You've been sent off at a very important game that the fans are all desperate to win and your teammates are all busting a gut to try and win." He looked like he just couldn't wait to get off the pitch. And I'm sorry, that's not good enough. And I don't think he behaves like that if he's at Paris Saint-Germain or any other team that he's obviously wanting to play for. I thought it showed a real lack of passion from him. Not a lack of, he was passionate for himself. He was passionate in expressing how upset he was at that play for kicking him, but he wasn't passionate in expressing how disappointed and how angry he was at the predicament the club had just been put in, or the team. But like he was thinking, "Oh, I don't care if we go and lose this game because of this now." Straight down the tunnel, not a look back. And I'd be surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised if when he went down the tunnel, if he didn't even come back out and watch the game. I didn't see him come back out on the bench at full time or anything. I didn't see him on social media afterwards posting anything at all. I don't know if he has today, and I've just missed it. But there's been nothing saying, "Oh, never mind, I'll learn from this." It's just been silence from him, hasn't it? So he probably went back in the changing room, got showered, put his suit or his trackie on, and probably went and waited on the coach on his phone. Probably didn't even watch the last half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was very disappointing to see. I saw a couple of Everton fans saying maybe the club will appeal the red card, but like looking at the picture today, I don't favour the club's chances of getting it rescinded. I think it's probably going to keep. Are you along that line, or do you reckon it is worth?
It's probably worth a goal, because we can argue why wasn't the other guy given the same punishment when he started the whole fracas in the first place. But it is clutching at straws. I get what you're saying. I think even if we do appeal it, we'll get it knocked back. But I think we should do, because it's basically just the club standing up for itself. Even when you know the protest is not going to be listened to, sometimes you should still protest as a matter of principle. And I think that's what I want to see us do. Say, yeah, we know we're not going to get this rescinded, but we want to acknowledge that the referee screwed us over there, which he did. Because if Moise Keane's going to go, then that fella should go as well.
No problem. Obviously, the game, we sort of thought he might rotate. He might rotate the squad, give some people some game time. I just want to know your thoughts on not just the rotation of some players, but also the change of formation, the 5 at the back.
I didn't like that, personally. I mean, I'm not a fan of 3 at the back or 5 at the back, whatever you want to describe it as. I don't like defences that have more than 2 centre-halves in them. That's just me, personally. And I think Benitez over-rotated. I mean, I know every manager rotates in a cup game, especially against the lower league sides. You're never going to get your full-strength sides, even if it's available to you in a lower league cup game. They're going to use that opportunity to gather information, aren't they? They're going to basically be scouting the players who they've got on the fringes of the squad and giving them a chance. Players who they probably haven't seen much of, especially if they've been injured during the pre-season, like Gomez was, and like I can't think. This name escapes me, but basically, yeah, we had a couple of players who didn't play much pre-season. So as soon as they were fit again, Benitez was always going to put them in to see what he's got with them. The rotation was too much for me, though. There was no need to play Branthwaite, in my opinion. He's a good young lad, but he's not ready to be playing at this level. I think he needs a loan again. He played a little bit on loan for Blackburn, and he had a mixed spell. I think it's time to just send him back out to the Championship, or maybe even League One, and let him just get 30, 40 games under his belt. He's got no business playing in a cup game with a seasoned England international like next to him, like Michael Keane, even though Keane's out of form. We need to better balance things up. We can't be having Keane, whether we like it or not, he's been a starter, hasn't he? We can't have a first choice starter next to some young kid who's maybe 4th or 5th choice. I just think the balance gets the balance wrong. You've got to have your 2nd or your 3rd choice, or your 3rd or 4th choice if you're going to rotate, not your 1st and your 5th. So I didn't like the 3 at the back. I didn't like playing Branthwaite. Gbamin, I was happy to see get some minutes. I mean, he played a full 90, which will be massive for him. But I think it would have probably, maybe this would have happened if he hadn't got the red card. But I think in an ideal Wales, we should have given Gbamin maybe about an hour just to break him back in, but not leave him dead on his feet, because he looked absolutely shattered by the end. And who knows if he's got it in him to play any part on Saturday, because he's been out of the game that long. Maybe that 90 minutes he's just used up last night will mean that he hasn't got another, he can't be fit for Saturday. He's going to need another full week before he's ready to play again. Hopefully not. Hopefully he can be involved on Saturday against Brighton, but I wouldn't be shocked if he can't. If they want to just be overly cautious with him and not use him for more than 90 minutes over 5 days. Davis came in and played, but Davis, we learned this last season, is a number 6. He sits in front of the back 4 and he just makes the simple passes and the simple tackles. He marks the space between the penalty box and the halfway line. But because he had Gbamin next to him, who is a similar sort of player, a sitter, Davis was kind of put back in his old position as being a bit of a box-to-box player at number 8, and he's not a number 8 player, and he struggles to impact games, even against lower league opposition when he plays in that area of the pitch. So I wouldn't have played Davis and Gbamin together, but we've got away with it, haven't we? We've got what we wanted for both of them, and we've got the results. We've got Davis some minutes, we've got Gbamin some minutes, we've got into the next round, so it's not a big thing to complain over. And finally, we played. I thought Iwobi was going to be in the number 10 when I saw the team come out, but he was basically out wide again, wasn't he? and he had his best performance for the club in a while, and hopefully he can just build off it and keep the momentum going. He's still not in Everton's strongest 11 for me, but he's probably the only player there last night who kind of said to the manager, right, I deserve to be playing more minutes than just the odd cup game. I'm ready to kind of be in your thinking when you're going to be picking your first 11 for Brighton. So Iwobi did very, very well, I thought.
No problem. Well, weirdly enough, I was going to ask you, would any of them have made a stake for the starting 11 at the weekend? Any of them do enough to convince you?
Only Iwobi, maybe. Who else played? I mean, Begovic had a bit of a mixed spell. He made some good saves, but his kicking was atrocious. But he's a number 2, and unless Jordan Pickford's form falls off dramatically, then Begovic is going to stay as the number 2, isn't he? So he's not going to come in. Kenny and Nkunku, I thought they were okay. I mean, they didn't do anything wrong, but they didn't really have any standout moments either. I mean, Kenny was just quietly got on with his job, didn't he? He didn't really put any balls into the box and get forwards. He just stayed out wide and picked the easy pass. Nkunku used his pace a bit to get forwards, but when he got into the final third, his end product wasn't very good. I mean, I think he volleyed a few balls over, didn't he? That crossed over to him. So Kenny and Nkunku, they are what they are. Nkunku's still a young player who's got ability and is hopefully going to play a big part in the seasons to come, but he's not ready to be playing in the Premier League just yet as a starter. Kenny is not a Premier League player, even in my opinion. He's an all right lad. He's an all right player in the sense that he could probably go and do a solid job for someone in a lesser quality league, if it's back in Germany or back up in Scotland or somewhere else. I really hope Kenny ends up having a really good career, but he's not going to have a really good career at Everton. We think we've all seen that now and made our peace with it. And the club probably has made its peace with it as well. I think if we got an offer for Kenny today, an half-decent one, then we'd just be happy to take it and let the lad go. And who else? I mean, just touching on what I said, Gabaman's got the minutes under his belt. Hopefully that will really bring him along and help his confidence and his fitness. And hopefully he can play again on Saturday if he's got the energy for it, because he did look absolutely spent by the time the final whistle went, playing a full 90 minutes for the first time in 2.5 years, whatever it's been. So hopefully he's not so exhausted now that we have to take him out the squad for Saturday. And Davis, it was good to get him some minutes, but I don't think Davis gets in our team over Alan, and he definitely doesn't get it in over to Corey, does he? So no, the only player who I looked at last night and thought, yeah, you've played really well here, and I wouldn't have a problem if you started on Saturday, would probably be Iwobi. And it's not often I've said that. It's not often at all. You'd think I'd be happy if Iwobi played for Everton, because he's not very good most of the time.
Would you stick him out wide again, or would you try and make that number 10 role?
I mean, we haven't really played much of a number 10 this season. I mean, we tried to Damari Gray there, didn't we, against Southampton, and it didn't really work. We ended up sticking him out wide, didn't we? And he affected the game better. But I wouldn't be against giving Iwobi a chance like that. Would you have Richarlison out wide and Damari Gray out on the other side with Iwobi behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin? I'd be up for giving that a try. Iwobi's always cry arson saying that number 10 is his best position and he wants a chance there, and he hasn't taken it in any chances that we've given it to him last season. A few times we did let him play there. He never impacted any games, but maybe he needs a run there of 4 or 5 games before we can really see what he's all about as a number 10. So I wouldn't have a problem if Iwobi plays as a number 10. If it's a choice between playing him or Townsend out wide, then I'd probably go with Townsend against Brighton, because it's an away game. We don't want to be taking any chances. We know what Townsend will give us and what he can't give us, whereas Iwobi's too much of a mixed bag, isn't he? Iwobi could be the best player on the pitch against Brighton, or he could be the worst. So if you're going to play Iwobi on Saturday against Brighton, I'd be happy for it to be the number 10. But if it's a choice of playing Iwobi out wide or starting Townsend, I'd probably want to start Townsend.
Not a problem. So the next question is, realistically, how far do you think we potentially could go in the Carabao Cup? I know it's a little bit hard from, the one game, but realistically, how far do you think we should be aiming for?
It just depends how soon we draw the top 4 team, because I don't think we'll beat the top 4 team unless we have an absolutely brilliant performance on the night and they play a second string. We made the quarterfinals last season, didn't we, against and then we went out to Man United. If we get to the last 8 again, if we what is it? It's the third round, then the fourth round, then the quarterfinals, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And I think
Yeah,
they've got 4 join now, don't they? European clubs join.
Yeah. Yeah, if the third round's going to be later on, which I think they're going to do a live stream for when the draw is happening. But if we can get through to the quarterfinal, then I think that's okay, because every team that wins cups consistently, like your Chelseas, your Man Cities, even your Liverpools, they're always in and around the quarters and the semi-finals every season, aren't they? And there'll be the odd season where they go all the way and win it. So if you're going to be a team that is used to doing well in competitions and is gaining vital experience when those big games come, like finals and semi-finals, you've got to be progressing deeply in the competition year on year on year, and hopefully looking to get a slightly better every year. So if we get to the quarterfinals again, then I think that will do us. Obviously, we want to go all the way, but I think it's unrealistic for us to expect to win it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Benitez has got the magic touch and he can mastermind it. But the squad, the way it is, I just don't think it's strong enough. I think if we come up against a United or a City or even a Liverpool again, we'll probably get knocked out, especially if it's over 2 legs in the semi-final. So if we could win this next game in the third round and then win the fourth round after that against another Premier League team or another champion. If we play another championship team, then we play another Premier League team and we beat them like we did last year. Because I think we played West Ham in the fourth round, didn't we? And we took care of them. And we get the quarterfinal before we play any of the big guns, then I think we'll be happy with that.
No worries. Obviously, I don't know if you caught it, but Jamie Carragher said on the overlap, I think it was with Sky, that Cups competitions have got to be a priority for Everton over the league. Do you share that sentiment, or do you think we should sort of focus on the league and trying to get into the Europa League conference or Europa League potentially?
For me, it's the league this season. I want to win a cup as much as anybody, but it just touched on what I said then. I don't think the squad's good enough to win a cup unless something crazy happens, which it does sometimes. There are smaller teams that end up going all the way, like your Swanseas, your Wigans, teams like that. They every now and then pick up a cup, won't they? But even Leicester were the underdogs last season, weren't they? And they ended up beating City in the final. So, not City, Chelsea. If you said to me now, we can make a semi-final of a cup, but it means us finishing 9th or 10th, or we can go out to the cups without getting that far, and we end up finishing 6th or 7th. I'd be happy to take 6th or 7th. I want us back in Europe next season. We need to get the club back in Europe, and I know you get in Europe by winning a trophy, but it would be a lot easier for us to finish the best of the rest in 7th place and getting in the new Europa Conference League thing, whatever it is, than it would be going all the way to a final and then maybe losing and having our hearts broken. If we went all the way to a final, no one would remember it as, oh yeah, what a great day out that was. Everyone was just heartbroken that we've lost. So I'd rather go in the season and finish 6th or 7th and get in the Europa League or the new Conference League thing and guarantee European football next season, and not have to pay the price of having a heartbreaking final defeat or semi-final defeat.
Yeah, I must admit that Conference League, I was looking at some of the teams in it now, and a lot of the teams, without being too offensive to them, are very subpar to Premier League teams. So I feel like if we qualified for that, we'd have a decent cup run in that potential, hopefully.
I'd love to go in that, not because we've got to have a very good chance of winning it, but I'd love to go with it because it would mean we'd have a lot more games for us to play our youngsters. So we could have the under-23 step up and play in it, and they would gain vital experience. Players like your Onyangos when he's fit again. Players like I was going to say João Virginia, but he's just gone on loan, hasn't he? Players like your Niles and Kunkus. Players like your is it Kyle John, the right back?
Yeah.
Branthwaite. Players like that. Anthony Gordon, if he's still here. Players like that would get a lot out of traveling around Europe and getting that and used to that early on in their careers and coming up against all different styles of teams from different cultures. I think that would be really, really entertaining. If we got in that Europa Conference League, I think I'd buy a ticket to every game we went to, especially the home ones. I'd really be up for having some European away days. And okay, it's not the most seriously taken competition. It's not the competition if you win it, or even if you go far in it, that you're going to be puffing your chest out and saying, look what we've won. But it's about creating memories, isn't it? And I would love that. And going to away days and seeing young players grow in front of you, that's memories. So I'd love that.
No worries. Before we finish the extra time show, I'm going to ask for your man of the match from the Huddersfield game and why.
It's Alex Iwobi, isn't it? He got the first goal. He was the most creative player. He looked like the signing who we hoped we were going to get when we spent 27, 28 million or whatever it was on him. But this can't be just a one-off for him. If he's going to turn his Everton career around, because a lot of people have already given up on him and want to see him out the door ASAP, and you can't blame them for having that mentality because he's been here long enough and not delivered anywhere near as much as he should have. But if he can carry this reign of form on for 15, 20 games, then a lot of fans will come back to his side again and we'll be happy to keep him at the club and put him in our best 11. So it's Alex Iwobi, and I'm hoping that wasn't just a one-off and he goes back to being the Alex Iwobi we're all used to in the weeks to come. He's got to build off that. He's got to finally put a run of form together, a consistent run of form that impresses people. Otherwise, what's he going to have to say for himself at the end of his career? Because if he doesn't start performing consistently, we're going to move him on and he's going to go to a lower club. He's already dropped down from Arsenal. I know Arsenal are a mess right now, but Arsenal is still a bigger club than Everton. And he's probably going to drop down to a club that is smaller than Everton even. It just feels like that happens with some players. Like Darren Gibson was one of them. He was a youngster who broke through at United and he played really well for a little bit and then never really kicked on. And then he went to Everton and he never kicked on at Everton. And he ended up dropping all the way down the pecking order. And that's going to happen to Iwobi. And if he doesn't want that type of career, if he doesn't want to just be remembered as some sort of nomad who drifted and spent 2 or 3 years here and then got moved on and then spent 2 or 3 years somewhere else and then got moved on again, he needs to put a run of form together. And if he's not going to do it at Everton, then who's he going to do it at? So my man of the match was Iwobi, but I want to see more from Iwobi. Can't just have that be his only good performance for the next 3 months.
Not a problem. That is everything we've got time for on the Extra Time Show. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts on the Huddersfield game, and let us know who you'd want to pick in the next draw. Don't forget, if you want any Everton merchandise, any tops or anything, you can get them through the Everton Direct shop through the link in the description down below. Massively helps out the channel, and we really appreciate it.